Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. Great to be back with you on a Monday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, as it is Schmidt in quarantine is where I'm at. Big virtual hug to Elijah Herbel. He's not a hugger. Will Wilson, Connor Clark for picking me up last week. Got hit with the old COVID. And we are punching back at this thing. Numbers to get in: 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Can email Chris at hailvarsity.com, and can always find and follow us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel. And just getting a text from Kranak asking if I'm still alive. Yes, still here and ready to go. It is Purdue week. Now, joining the Big Ten, it was always Purdue week, but the way the last few seasons have gone with Nebraska against Jeff Brom, it's don't screw it up, come back refreshed and ready to go from the bye week, and let's keep this season alive. On the show today, we'll check in with Blackshirt Husker NFLer and co-host Big Red Wrap-Up Jay Moore with us. Been a long time since we talked with Bird, as he was out on the Cod. He was out on Cape Cod doing some amateur nationals for golf that could have got him to Augusta. So Jay Moore, number 44, coming up in just a bit. We'll check in with Mr. Blackshirt Charlie McBride in hour 2. And we'll do that right at 5. And Derek Peterson with Hail Varsity, really good column for Dr. Petey. And Vic chimes in. Great to hear you back. Hold on a sec. We're getting an echo. Okay, so
that's not right now. That's
better
only,
for you. One more time, Elijah.
That's only if we were to play presser cuts off here, we'd be getting an echo. But we're better now.
We're good. We're good. We will have full frost today. We'll have plenty of Adrian Martinez, and of course the mayor and company. Coach Hoiberg and Nebraska basketball. Their exhibition gets rocking on Wednesday against Peru State, and then the Buffs, or as Coach McBride calls them, the Puffs, come in on Sunday for a couple of exhibitions before things get rolling. Elijah, what's up with you? How was the weekend? You had a little camping excursion?
Yeah, I did indeed. I got out to Waubonsie State Park right on the border of Nebraska and Iowa, and the I believe it's the Luss Hills, I believe is how it's pronounced. So some good hiking, got to see some good fall colors. Kind of just got to get away from it all, and then on Sunday morning I got to get soaked. So it all worked out.
It did. It got all sorts of wet here in eastern Nebraska. So a lot to get to with Nebraska here, and you know, there's just certain things we look at with this football team, and we'll get into this with Derek Peterson, with Dr. Petey. Just with Saturdays, and this narrative's been it's been accruing interest, right? It's been compounding interest each week, each weekend. It's been bigger, it's been better, it's been built up, it's been hyped, it's been can't lose, must win. And that's just how this season, how intense this season has felt, Elijah, where and you're down to it, man. It's really, and I'll put this in terms you get because you're finishing your undergrad, and there's been instances in the history of college students where you better nail your midterm or your final if you want to walk. And that's kind of the feel with Nebraska and bowl eligibility. Now, Nebraska fans right now are at a point where, as you look at the schedule, you can talk yourself into going 3-1. You can talk yourself real easy out of going 3-1, 2-2, 1-3. I mean, it's there's just, choose your own adventure here. But you're going to look back at 2021 if this team, if this collection of super seniors, if they don't get to go bowling, you're going to point back and go, man, the what ifs of the season, and that's kind of been the storyline. And I'm anxious to see Saturday. And listen, I don't know. I think I have a feel, or I think I have a good finger on what Nebraska should show up coming off of a bye week. Okay, I have no earthly idea what Purdue team is going to show up. Am I going to see Iowa-Purdue, where Iowa's got a good pass rush, Iowa takes care of the football, Iowa holds on to the football, and when it came down to it, they had no answer for Bell. Okay, or am I going to see this Purdue team that just absolutely messed the bed with this 3-quarterback setup against a Wisconsin team that all of a sudden looks like they could be in for a stretch run for the West? So does Minnesota. And then you can't count out Iowa, even though they had their wake-up call. It was a crazy weekend. That's all I did. I sat in my basement with my dogs, and I watched football. And I watched Kansas and Coach Leipold give a very disinterested Oklahoma team all they wanted until Oklahoma woke up. I saw Alabama sleepwalk against their rival, and they still blew out Tennessee, and Tennessee was within a touchdown most of that game until the levee broke. And so, Nebraska's outing against Minnesota, as bad as it stings, as bad as it ticks you off, it happens in college football. You've just seen instances of where an Oklahoma or an Alabama are so far above and beyond, they can play a D-plus game and still win by double digits. Nebraska's not in that instance. I think Nebraska has had a chance, first and foremost, to Coach Frost has touched on resetting Elijah. I think they actually got to do that. I know there was some talk at the presser today about a meeting last night by the football team to really kind of hone in and get going. And you've got a bunch of super seniors that will sell out and give it their all here, their Final Four for Nebraska. You have some other question marks about guys like Adrian Martinez, who have been so valuable to the football team and so exciting, but also it's not gone absolutely perfect when we talk about some missteps and some turnovers. And then you have kind of the next wave, Elijah. You've got guys like a Turner Corcoran, Ty Robinson. Those guys are bedrocks for what happens after these Final Four. First and foremost is Purdue. I have no doubt the team gets that. But what can happen Saturday is any remnants of a Minnesota-type effort or focus this Saturday at 2:30 on ESPN2. I heard the term urgency a lot, and I tend to believe that the kids are in the right mind frame. They're rested up. I think you're going to see a better Adrian. We'll hear from him in a moment, but when he's limited, it limits the offense. He still gives you a chance to win, clearly, but when he's not at his best, the offense is off, and that was part of your recipe for disaster against Minnesota.
Yeah, and one of the things we talked about on the show last week, Will and I did, and I think Connor and I did as well, was just that this Husker team's got their work cut out for them over the last 4 weeks of the season. You know what you have to do. You have to go 3-1 to be bowl eligible. And I think based on your body of work so far this season, you should have some confidence in yourself that you're going to be in a chance, you'll be giving yourself a chance to win at least 3 of these 4 games based on how you've played against some top 15, top 10 level teams that have been on your schedule so far. You know what you have to do, and you probably have confidence in yourself that you can go and get the job done. It just comes down to going out there, executing, bringing the juice, and really treating this like a professional, just in terms of seeing the work that's ahead of you and getting your work done and putting in a good effort on Saturday. We saw what a bad effort on Saturday looks like in the first week of the season against Illinois, which wasn't necessarily a bad effort from the team, but maybe a bad effort from the coaching staff in terms of game plan. And then we saw what a bad effort from the team looks like against Minnesota, where they were getting down in the red zone and they couldn't go in and finish. They just didn't have the juice when it mattered, especially in the first half. So you know what you need to do. You just need to go out and do it now.
Well, we talk about evaluation, and that's what the bye week was, on top of putting your feet up a little bit and get the bruises to heal and the ankles to rest up, to get back to closer to 100%. When we talk about evaluation of this team has played well enough to be in a good bowl game. Now, their record, barring a miracle, will be at 6-6, right? I mean, they could hypothetically win out and be a 7-5 team. They've played well enough. When the dust settles at the end of 2021, you're going to have a Minnesota or an Iowa team that will probably, and we'll throw Wisconsin in there as well, represent the West. That'll be a 9-win, maybe fringe 10-win football team. When you look at Minnesota's remaining schedule, they have an absolute opportunity to take care of business and end up with 9 or 10 wins with a bowl win. Does Iowa stay focused after their misstep and get to a Big Ten title game? Their game at Northwestern's always been a bugaboo, a lot like that Purdue matchup. And Wisconsin seems to be hitting their stride. They are just absolutely fierce with their pressure. That's a conversation for another Saturday in about 3 weeks. So we'll leave the Badgers off to the side, but man, they looked a lot different, that they're getting better. And you've seen that with a number of teams. Northwestern's getting better. You've got a classic tilt with Michigan State this weekend. Nebraska right there with both of those games. Oklahoma still clearly the class of the Big 12. And Oklahoma can stay unbeaten. Now, Iowa State looms for them. Oklahoma State looms for them. They've got a tough finish as well. But when we talk about Nebraska and their margin of losses with who they've lost to, it just hurts. And we knew the schedule was going to be extremely difficult. Nebraska's weathered the schedule well. The thing that's been maddening is that you've dropped a couple of games, air quote, you should win because you were the favorite and you're Nebraska and you're supposed to be the better team. It's going to come down to the Minnesota and Illinois ball games, where the rest of these have been deemed coin flips, and you've been right there. I look at a couple of things as Nebraska tries to close out, and where I have seen progress, and you're going to need to see progress on the scoreboard these Final Four. Get it done. This isn't a referendum or a call for change as we talk here towards the end of October, but I think you've seen this team make jumps. Think of the mile markers, right? From where you were at, Oklahoma to Michigan, and then you get Purdue this weekend, take care of business, and then a month after Michigan, how do you handle business at home where you've been good against Purdue, and then how do you kind of bookend things with Ohio State right there? I mean, you look at these month-long mile markers. All right, Illinois to Oklahoma, Oklahoma to Michigan, Michigan to Ohio State. And can you get close to 500, knowing that you're up against it with Buckeyes that are a far cry different football team from where they started defensively to now just annihilating people, just absolutely crushing people. It's going to be a tall task, but first things first, you handle Purdue. And with Nebraska, it's going to come down to protection. It's going to come down to pressure. It's going to come down to turnovers. And it's going to come down to red zone. And that's just it. And we saw how big of a nightmare the red zone is in the Big Ten in full Monty form, with 9 overtimes in Illinois and Penn State, where everyone's got a 2-point play that nobody can execute because it's so condensed, and you can't just, either you don't want to or you don't trust it, or you were fearful of the result where you just line it up and you ground and pound it. Elijah, it is a funny situation, man, where it's 2021 and I get spreading out defenses, but when push comes to shove, nobody wants to line up and just try and play smash mouth because fullbacks are endangered species.
Well, first things first, this is also a conversation for another day, but that new overtime rule is terrible.
It's garbage.
I was out camping, as I said, and I saw the score come up on my phone. It was like late in the game between Illinois and Penn State, and I'm like, I'm getting in the car and I am driving so I can get better reception where I can stream this game on my phone. And I went and streamed the last couple overtimes, and I was super confused.
Never ending.
Because we were in the fourth overtime, and I am like, why on earth are they just running 2-pointers at each other? I'm like, oh yeah, there was that rule change, wasn't it? That was terrible. But we saw the Cleveland Browns on Thursday night against my Broncos show how valuable it can be to have a fullback in your system. And I mean, could Nebraska have that guy in Jacquez Yanton down the goal line who can just power forward for 4 yards, knock a guy out of the way, and give your running back a path to the end zone? You would hope so. You would think so, but I don't think Nebraska's going to use that. I think the college football game has kind of evolved past that point when you look at the fact that, Cleveland's starting fullback, we saw him here at Nebraska. He was a quarterback in college. Fullbacks just are not popular. We'll say that in college football.
Well, Cleveland's got, they got Jano on the sideline, and then they've got, of course, Johnny Stanton. Let's talk about progress. Coach Frost was asked about it and touched on it here earlier today at the press conference. Plenty more from Coach Frost and Hoiberg and Adrian, but progress, what are the words of the day today?
We beat ourselves up pretty bad. We've come up, just an inch short too many times. But when I look at it, the progress is obvious. The team's playing hard. We're playing more physical. We're bigger, faster, stronger. There's some areas we need to fix. But I think people are recognizing the type of team we have and the level we're playing at, and it's up to us to make the plays when it counts to get it over the hump.
That's a debatable topic as far as if progress is obvious. I think it is. They look better, but they need to be better in the win column. Same story. They get another crack Saturday. Jay Moore's next.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you on a Monday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. I am in Junior's room, and I am a horrible parent. This place looks like a nuke went off, and I should probably pay more attention to my son. We welcome in Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore and co-host of Big Red Wrap-Up. Jay Bird, been a while, brother. How are you?
Good, Schmitty. How you doing, brother?
I'm hanging in. I'm quarantined down. I'm hunkered down. I'm bunkered down, and you know how dirty Junior is. I'll send you a picture here of the particulars. Don't let your little guy turn into my little guy with poor hygiene. I mean, we got stuff just in the corners, and we've got papers everywhere, and I don't know, man. This is quite an embarrassment.
That's good. Hey, but at least you're, you could be multitasking. You do a radio show, then clean up, and then charge him a fee. You could charge him for cleaning his room. Make a little extra money.
He's been upstairs. I've been exiled to the basement, and so we have this spare room, and it's got our outdoor TV inside with a plant that's either fake or real, I don't know, and a chair. And I peek in there, and he's got dirty dishes from 3 days worth just sitting around, and I just lost it on him, man. It's on me. So there's somewhat of a tie between Nebraska football, dirty dishes, and picking up after yourself, but we won't get too deep into things. I want to get your take on Purdue, and really just what your feel is for this Nebraska football team coming out of a bye week.
Yeah. Tell you what, I don't have a great feel right now after last week's performance, or I guess you could say almost 2 weeks ago when they played Minnesota. You thought they were kind of obviously heading in the right direction, obviously the close losses, and most people could tell that this team was showing progress and doing a lot of good things, but then you kind of, you had about the same performance as you had when you go up and you played Illinois in game one. So you're questioning, what happened, between, the Michigan game and the Minnesota game. And obviously, I know that, fatigue had a little bit to do with it, and a lot of close losses, and that can wear on you. That can wear on a club, and then you have Minnesota coming off a bye, and they get 2 weeks to prepare. So it wasn't the best of situations, but I don't think this team is. I'm not trying to make any excuses for this program, because I think in year 4, and having all these close losses and some decent wins, they just can't use, the excuses are kind of out the door for me. So where I'm at right now with this team is, you're playing a team coming up here, and I think the Nebraska's a 7-point favorite, surprisingly, at home. But a team that just knocked off the number 2 team in the nation 2 weeks ago in Iowa. Now, I think Iowa was kind of on a heater with how well their defense was performing. Their offense is not very good, and I think Purdue just kind of caught them at the right time. Then they play a team in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin handles them easily at home, and that's kind of been Purdue's football, and it's kind of like Nebraska. You don't know, not totally sure what you're going to get from week to week. So it's going to be interesting to see where their heads are at. In the bye week, they got some good rest. It sounds like Adrian is healthy. Don't know how serious his injuries were against Minnesota, but obviously it was to some extent to where he wasn't able to kind of tuck the ball and run it like we've seen him do many, many times and get Nebraska out of a jam. So I think we're in a very, very interesting situation with 4 games to go. They're 3-5. They could easily go 3-9 or 6-6 in my opinion. So this is I can't really get a feel for them. That's just it can go extreme. I think it's extreme one way or the other. But I feel like the bye week was coming at a good time. Get their minds right, get their heads cleared up, get some much needed rest. I think they'll come out and play some solid football, and I think you'll probably see them play closer to what you saw against Northwestern and Michigan than you saw Minnesota.
Jay Moore is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Jay, you look at the spread, Huskers favored by 7, and I'm not great at math, but even I can see that that's a 1-score game where the Huskers have really struggled in the past 3 years, has been in 1-score games. So what do the Huskers have to do to be able to get over the hump, assuming that this is a close game against Purdue on Saturday?
Yeah, they have to get off a good start. I think you've seen these games in the past, or this year, you look back at the Northwestern game, boom, they score in about three or four plays. Even in some of their close losses, they got off some decent starts. All of a sudden when, against Minnesota, they go a quick 3-and-out, and then Minnesota, boom, drives down the field and scores. You're like, oh boy, you can kind of get a feel for it. So obviously get up to a good start. Keep Purdue, slow down their momentum. They got a really good defensive end. I don't know if he's quite as good as Hutchinson from Michigan, but he'll probably be another first-round draft pick that Purdue has on the defensive line. It seems like they have about one come out of there that's first-round pick about every other year. So just get up to that good start. Slow down their momentum. Slow down their offense and see what happens. They're playing 2 or 3 quarterbacks it seems this year, so kind of you don't know exactly what you're going to see from series to series. But if the Nebraska just got to get up to a good start, they got to seize the momentum, and I think they can do that. I think they'll be okay on Saturday.
Jay Moore's with us, Big Red wrap-up co-host, Blackshirt Husker NFLer, joining us here, Hail Varsity Radio. Jay, do you get a read at all on Adrian? I know we'll hear from him in a little bit on his future, and good for him. He's not looking past Purdue. It's Monday. It's not, fourth-year junior. What am I going to do? But if you're Nebraska, what's best for Nebraska? A fifth year of Adrian, a change of scenery for Adrian, where maybe he's got a spot and a place that maybe he can have a Russell Wilson type senior year. Have you thought about that much, Adrian's future?
Yeah, a little bit. I've had some discussions with people, and it's interesting because some people are in the ballpark like, hey, let's get another guy in here and see what he can do. And then there's some people like, man, he is a really good quarterback. He's just not very clutch and can't get the deal done sometimes. And then you have people are like, man, this guy is once in a decade type of talent that we have coming in here. I'd love to keep him around. I don't know. I think the NIL will definitely play in for him. Can he go and make good money, at another Power 5 school, unlike Nebraska? I don't know. It'd have to be pretty, a pretty high program that, I just don't see him, transferring to a school like a Clemson or an Alabama or I don't know, just a school that might have a decent amount of endorsements coming in for this new NIL. So it's tough. It really is tough, and I mean, it's not a knock to Logan Smothers or to Heinrich Harburg or whoever, Matt Masker, these backup quarterbacks, but I think Adrian's really, really good. And, you get him behind another, more experienced offensive line. The knock on Adrian is he can't seal the deal. Just like, whether it's him or this team, I don't know if Adrian has the clutch gene or not. And, and sometimes, whether that can be blamed on Adrian or not, or that can be blamed on the kicker or the punter or whoever it may be. But I still think he's a hell of a quarterback, and obviously by far the best one we have currently on the roster. So I would be happy if he wants to come back for a fifth year. That would be great. I just don't think the NFL is a great future for him. I don't know if he'd get drafted right now, to be honest, in the NFL. I'm not saying that he can't play. I just don't think he's a for sure NFL draft pick. His game might be more suited towards like the Canadian League, to be honest. So I just don't know if that's a total option for him. Maybe if Nebraska was more successful and maybe they're 6-2 or whatever, and they're ranked in the top 25, maybe it's a whole different conversation about Adrian going to the NFL. But the fact that he hasn't had a winning season since he's played here, that doesn't fare well when scouts look at him. I know they're all about potential, but it comes down to being able to win football games and be a part of a winning culture. That's what you want. And that's definitely been far from the case. But I would take him. I would for sure take him as a fifth-year guy. Let Harburg get some more time, and whoever they have coming in, and then over in the commit to add to that QB room, give him more time to develop and kind of see what happens.
It'd be interesting to see Adrian behind a better, more experienced offensive line. You've got potential talent on that O-line, but they're just not. They're not, third year,
Right.
graybeards there, or you haven't found you've kind of settled on a running back, which is nice, but it's been a work in progress. And we know about Betts and Manning, their grasp of the offense. Austin Allen's had a great run, so we don't know if he's back, but you could be better around him in this final year. Jay, a thought here before we say goodbye on your old roommate, Zach Taylor. Tough gig in Cincy. He got Joe, and they made a statement yesterday in Baltimore against the Ravens. Did you have a chance to check in on that game? And really, what are your thoughts here, year three for old ZT, your roomie?
Yeah, I did. We had to go to a local establishment to watch it, but I tell you what, it was an impressive win. I mean, I think they were, dang near a touchdown underdog in Baltimore, and they've been playing really good football this year. They should have beat the Packers in overtime just a couple weeks ago, but all of a sudden they find themselves at 4-2 or 5-2, and they're leading the AFC North. And they look like they could be, Baltimore's still really good. And, Cincinnati still has a tough schedule the second half of the season. But just impressive what he's able to do. I think him and his staff probably caught some heat for taking Chase in the first round. I think, they wanted to see some offensive line, draft picks to help protect Burrow. But I tell you what Chase is able to do, what he's done this year, by far, if he stays healthy, he'll be the rookie of the year, no doubt. That very similar connection and camaraderie there with Burrow and Chase from the LSU days. So that helps, and he's building it, man. It's awesome to see. So happy for him. Such a good guy, such a great family man for her, himself and Sarah to be in this situation. So it's fun to watch, and I try to watch when I can. Usually it's rare to get the Bengals game on unless they're playing the Chiefs or the Packers or the Vikings or the Bears around here. So if I can't get it on the local, I'm definitely going to a local establishment and having a couple cold ones, watching ZT and the Bengals take care of business. So hopefully keep it going because he's got a nice thing going right now.
Jay, awesome stuff. We'll see you soon, bud. Thanks for a few minutes today.
Yep, you got it. Thanks, boys.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Good stuff from Jay Moore, Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore. And it was an interesting NFL weekend with Cincinnati doing their signature win thing, and that's so awesome for Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow. You have the Chiefs continue to just look un-champion-like, which was nuts. You had the monsoon in Frisco. But that's all I did, man. Just hunkered down with a blanket and watched football all weekend. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. We will be at the Single Barrel on Friday for a road show Friday inside the Graduate. Can't wait to get back on the road and am out of this quarantine here by Thursday, which is nice. So come on by and get yourself a thick, juicy steak or a pork chop, over 250 whiskeys. That will do, right? And I know it's Boilermaker Saturday, so that means a shot and a beer for some of you. We will be inundated with Halloween and spooky stories come Wednesday. Elijah, our friend, just RSVP'd. The Pirate Mike Leach is in. So that'll be pretty exciting to catch up with. Did you ever hear the story about the Pirate and the time he made sure he got the haunted room in the Hollywood Hotel?
I have not heard this story.
It's somewhere in the files where the Pirate talks about either threatening to sleep on their couch or give me the haunted room.
Well, did you see his post-game interview the other day?
I did, and we've talked about candy corn a lot. We'll hear from the Pirate here in a second, specifically on that. But are you yay or nay on candy corn? I don't hate it, but it's got to be with peanuts.
I don't dislike candy corn. I don't like candy corn. It's one of those things I put up with in the fall because it's part
of the deal.
Exactly. It's part of the deal. However, he is spot on the money with the new Nerds gummy clusters. He talked about those. Those things are incredible. I'm not sure if you tried those things yet. The Nerds gummy clusters might be the best candy on the market right now. Those things they're just stupid good.
Okay, well, let's hear from the Pirate, his post-game. They just absolutely dismantle Vanderbilt. They've got Wan'Dale Robinson in Kentucky this weekend on the road. Here's Leach when it comes to Halloween candy.
I lost it. I need to find it again.
Okay, well, we'll get there. When it comes to Halloween candy and all that, we will have more. Do you want to do Pirate next hour?
Oh, we can, or I should have it here in a second.
You got it? Okay. So the Mike Leach heard around the world, and that's the beauty of the Pirate. Here we go. He gets like serious. When we talk to him, he gets a serious look in his eye in this interview when it goes to the depths of hatred for candy corn.
We talked about on the broadcast how you hate candy corn. What's your favorite Halloween
candy corn? I mean, I completely hate candy corn. When I was a kid, well, gummy bears. Let's see, gummy bears for sure.
Sour or regular?
The Haribo. It's got to be the Haribo ones. And then the other thing I like is when they used to have the sprees in a box. Outstanding. You have to go to the dollar store to find it, but I do. And then the latest, there's still candy innovation, although a while back I found that Europe had better candy than we did overall. It's because they have gummy everything. And then, they have those Nerds clusters, which is new.
The gummy.
Yeah, which is good. The Nerds clusters is good. And then if you go chocolate, probably Almond Joy.
Love it. Hopefully you'll get some of that next week.
Yeah, we'll see.
We got another top 10 showdown. We'll see if we get any candy. Salted nut rolls, man.
Have you had those Nerds gummy clusters?
No.
Oh, I need to drop them off or something. They are they're phenomenal. They're life-changing, I'd even say. That it's the best candy. It's like it's the Nerd's rope, except in little bite-sized pieces.
Okay. No, we used to have a pet rabbit named Claude. He was like 70 pounds in college, and he liked Nerds. He liked Nerds and Cheetos.
I can see why he was 70 pounds.
Well, he was a good boy. So the pirate, they're weighing in, and yeah, anytime he's like, yeah, they've got gummies in Europe. This is what I was laughing about. Let's get back a little bit to some football. And the pirate is in on Wednesday. So when we talk about preparation and Purdue's offense, Nebraska will hunker down a little bit more here from Coach Frost. And pressure moments, right, Elijah? Those are going to determine Nebraska these next 4 games. They've really told the story about the first 8 games, and the pressure moments have been on the wrong side for Nebraska football, either making a kick or covering a kick or holding on to the football or executing a 2-minute drill or getting a stop or missing a tackle. I mean, you go down the list of things that add up to losses, and more from Scott Frost with what he's tried to do. And you do the best you can. It comes down to having success in game, clearly. But he's trying to put him in more, sudden change, adventurous, and stressful situations, more from Coach earlier.
I put him in a lot of situations Wednesday with simulating the game on the line just to try to help them experience that even more. Not that we haven't done that before, but just continue to try to put them in competitive situations. This one matters. Can we count on you when it counts? We did a lot of really good things. We did a couple dumb things, and I wasn't happy about it. So there's a time and a place for that. And certain coaches we have on staff are better at hitting the mad button than others. But they're getting the players to play hard. This team believes how good they are, and we got another really good opponent coming in here, so we get another chance.
So that mad button, and Coach was really funny earlier today about sometimes I want to hit the mad button in here. Last thought from Frost when it comes to taking that next step, and you can prepare them, but ultimately it's going to come down to Adrian, and it shouldn't all be on him. But again, if it's going to get done, Adrian's going to be the one that gets it done. Last thought here from Frost here on taking that next step.
Human beings are habitual, and when you're used to winning, I think winning comes a little easier. When you're not there yet, I think it's a little harder, and maybe you're waiting on it to happen instead of making it happen. And I do think that little bit of extra confidence or just knowing it's going to happen rather than hoping could probably take us the next step. So we're trying to be as psychological with the guys as we can, but they believe how good a team they are. Now it's just a matter of making the play when it counts and when it matters the most.
Cue up Charlie Murphy, habitual line stepper, right? Time for Nebraska to get over that 3-inch line, that goal line, or that 4th and short line somewhere on the field. We'll wind down hour 1. Hail Varsity continues. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel is in Junior's lair, is what we're going to call this. Back in studio for me Thursday, thank the good Lord. Big thanks to Elijah and Willie J and Connor for making this thing go, and we're back at the Single Barrel on Friday for another Roadshow Friday. Myself, Mark Kranak, Elijah Herbel. So excited for that. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Are you refreshed after the bye week? You heard the team is. Are you, as a Nebraska fan, ready for this stretch run? 70% of people in fatal crashes in Nebraska not wearing a seatbelt. If used properly, a seatbelt can and will reduce risk of fatal injury by up to 60%. Your best defense in any crash, buckling up, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. So, Elijah, you would have commanded what for a 600th touchdown pass football. Mike Evans, sideline, pure hilarity. Oops, I gave it to a fan. So Tampa dude has to go to the front row and check in with longtime Bucks fan. And this guy's name's Byron Kennedy. He received a replacement ball, a signed jersey, and $1,000 worth of team store opportunity. So that seems a little low, doesn't it? I know this football would have fetched $500,000, possibly on the auction block, as much as almost $1 million on the auction block. Money's incredible, don't get me wrong. But if it's something that personal and cherished, and it's one of one, there's only one guy who's thrown 600 career touchdown passes, and it's Tom Brady, you should be able to bargain higher. But ultimately, I would have given it back.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you 100%. Ultimately, I'd give it back, but the price would have to be
Don't
right.
hose me on
exactly.
the negotiation.
Well, $1,000 of credit to the Buccaneers, what is that? Like, I mean, the dude's sitting on the sideline.
Think about that. You can get a home and away like Sue or Levante or Tom jersey, right? I would have parlayed this into having a Crown and Coke with Coach B.A. at his favorite tailgate spot outside the stadium. Get me a suite for the upcoming game on Sunday Night Football. Let's not that the front row wasn't incredible, and now the weather's not incredible in Tampa, but a G in team gear, yay! You're going to drop a G in booze, in seats, and in food, and in gear, right? I mean, think about that. A grand won't cover a family of 3 going if you're in those seats. And that's what you got for the 600th career touchdown pass?
Give me like season tickets for a pair of season tickets for the next 10 years. We'll call it even. And then maybe
it'll be really bad when all these guys go away.
And then whenever they display the football somewhere, make sure my name is in fine print on the plaque saying this is provided by the generosity of Elijah Herbel, who decided to give the football back. Like,
I need the picture of me handing it back to Brady.
There it is. Put that in Canton.
Right. You know what? I got into the Hall of Fame today.
Exactly.
And if you're Mike Evans, brother, you're chipping in on this. You're absolutely chipping in on this.
Well, Tom Brady said he's going to do something nice for this guy. I mean, what do you think that's going to be like? I mean, put me on the next Super Bowl celebration. Let me get on the boat. Let me catch the trophy over the water.
Forget the boat. Let's do tequila shots with Tom.
Let's get
the tequila going. Coach McBride's next hour 2 with Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it, hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We'll check in with the good doctor, Dr. Petey, here in a little while. Derek Peterson going to be with us from Hail Varsity. It is that time. It's a Monday, and a Monday with Charlie, Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride. Coach, how was the weekend? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm just sitting here in the worst weather we've had so far. Big storms and wind, but we're sitting here and getting ourselves ready for winter.
I bet you're hunkering down. So when it gets stormy outside, do you put a pot of chili in the crock pot?
Well, we didn't get that far.
Not yet is the answer. Not yet's the answer. Well, interested to get your thoughts here. The Final Four will start with Purdue, Coach, as Nebraska gears up. What's your feel for this football team after Minnesota? They get time off. They get a chance to recalibrate. And you got a potentially dangerous offense and a bunch of angry pass rushers on defense coming to Lincoln Saturday.
Well, I know I watched them play a little bit, and they've got some pretty good pressure off the edge. I know I think their quarterback and Bell, of course, are pretty well coordinated together, and they're dangerous. I mean, no matter what you do, you get a couple of guys like that. Sometimes it takes a little bit of double covering, and I don't know that they'll do that, but it's going to be a matter of getting the biggest thing in a game like this is to get pressure on the guy and get him to make some bad throws, or at least have to throw the ball, like he doesn't want to. So, that's probably one of the big things. I mean, you see that every day in the NFL. If you get pressure on a guy, it just wears him out after a while. And but I think, the important thing is that they haven't showed a great running game, but you do still have to make them one-dimensional and stop the run. And once you do that, then the guys have a better chance because they can, get their tails in the air and start flying instead of, playing the run every play. But again, I don't know them well enough to know that, I assume that they beat Iowa and at home, which nobody does. So that's a something to their credit. I mean, it's at least I thought it was at Iowa, and Iowa's tough to beat at home. So they've got a good team. I think that they probably wish they had a little better defensively. I think I know I had a chance to hear the coach after one of the games, and I know he was talking about, they were not quite there yet at all. It's been a slow process this year for them, and so that goes with about everybody. I mean, it takes time. I mean, you look at schools like Wisconsin, and they're just starting to go, and they're going to be tough, and so the end of the season is going to be. It's going to be a bowl game every game. I mean, you're going to have to play lights out in every game, and we'll see what they're made of. That's how you find out about yourself, in this.
Charlie McBride's with us on Hail Varsity Radio on Monday with Charlie. You're right on, Coach. It's an impressive finish opportunity for Nebraska, and I'm interested here. What can you do either to scheme, or what do you tell your kids to get pressure? That there was minimal to zero pressure against Minnesota. Nebraska's picked their spots with a lot of great effort at different times against some heavyweight opponents this year, and quite honestly surprised me a little bit with their pass rush in a good way. But it's not been consistent, and they don't have that one guy. But as a group, you can get it going. Have you seen the pass rush get better, or where are you at with that element of the defense?
Well, it's still a point where I don't know, if they have any schemes where they widen their outside guys and come with them just on a normal basis. I'm not sure I've seen that. A couple of times I've seen them lined up, but I think, once you have guys with some speed, I mean, real good speed, you can run by some tackles. I mean, you can get up the field and go, and it just seems like we're packed in a little bit tight at times, but we still have good pressure from the corners when we get guys. Our nickel backs running, and doing stuff like that. They've been really successful with that, but they're going to be prepared for that kind of stuff. And, they'll go and they'll work hard on the things that have been successful in the pass rush and all the different stunts. So you probably made over the time, you probably need to make a few changes in not so much in the coverage, but in change of the guys doing things up front. and work on some of the stuff that, the looper has been a little late coming around sometimes because he's going too wide. And so they got to tighten that down. He's got to get his shoulders squared up the field instead of, we used to call it a funnel effect. If you had a guy slanting in and a guy looping around, you can see that the guy looping around has got to get around the corner and get square up. If he keeps going, then guys can just push you out of the way, and you split the stunt sometimes. And so it's got to be, some disguising. It's got to be some fooling of the linebacker sometimes, where they think, because if you haven't done a lot of this stuff, sometimes you can make a quarterback nervous, as he doesn't know. They're always changing plays, at the line of scrimmage when they stop and they look. And I don't know if Purdue does that exactly, but they may do it. You may find out they don't do it in their passing game, but they do it in their running game. And if you can pick up on that, that's a little thing you can keep an eye on. But once they change, they set to change their play, then sometimes you can move your defense. And if the linebackers understand their responsibilities, because once you set the thing, the linebackers kind of know what their responsibilities. Then you move people, that kind of changes them a little bit. So you have to be sure you're working on that stuff in practice, and because you can get gashed if you in the running game with that. But a lot of times the passing game is try to find out who their weak sister is, and really work on them.
Coach Frost talked about hitting the mad button today, and there was only a couple of practices last week, and there was some sudden change, high stress, high pressure situations where he kind of intimated that he got on the guys for not executing. Mm-hmm. You were known to hit the mad button a couple of times, weren't you? And when you did it have the desired effect? Did it get guys kind of locked back in?
Yeah, I think that the one thing is I think they all understand. They're old enough now, and they've gone through the season enough to know all the things that they've done right and the things that they've done wrong, and you can rest assured the things they've done right, they'll remember. And the things they did wrong, they just need to be sure that they don't happen again. And I think sometimes, there's going to be a hold, and there's going to be, as long as you're not doing it, and making a thing. Sometimes it just happens, and then, illegal procedure is something that you just have to concentrate on. You should never, on defense, you should never be offside. You should see the ball with your peripheral vision. Don't even listen to the sounds. Don't even try to time something up, because a lot of times if they change it and at a critical time, they'll change their count and stuff like that, and you end up jumping offside. So, and the other thing I noticed is as soon as that center puts his hand on the ball, you better get ready to roll. You can't be sticking your nose around, look like a turtle. And you got to get ready to play and get your motor running. So that's something I think that is kind of a simple thing, but it's something that you better be ready. You better be ready to go, because each play is going to mean something, and it could mean the game. So that's why I say a lot of guys say, well, I'm gonna not chase that. I'm not gonna go downfield and chase the guy that caught the ball. Why should I run down there? Well, that's about the time he fumbles it, and you say to yourself, man, if I was down there, I might have been able to recover the fumble, or whatever. And so there's always an award if you hustle. There's always going to be something good happen to you. It may not happen this game, but it may happen the next game or the next one after that. But if you keep going, it may mean everything. And those are the things you have to understand as a player, that, you know, you can't just take a nap on a couple of plays and expect to be good. And, you know, the same thing with pass blocking and stuff like that. You've got to really get your feet. You got to stay down. You got to get your feet. You got to use your hands and arms and, you know, get extended, get separation from them so they can't start grabbing your shirts and stuff like that.
Coach,
so there's a whole bunch of little things, you know, you can, you know, think about when you're sitting around, and, you know, that's really important. And I'm sure the coaches have talked to you about all of those things.
Coach Charlie McBride is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And, Coach, when you're talking about hitting that mad button whenever something goes wrong, is there a right and a wrong time for it? I mean, we've seen previous coaches at Nebraska. It seemed like Bo Pelini loved to hit his mad button, and then I don't think I ever saw Mike Riley hit his mad button. So is there a happy balance, a right and a wrong time, in your opinion, to decide to go ballistic on your guys?
Well, it's easier. It really is easier to hit the mad button on defense. I mean, you know, you can really get cranked up, you know, I mean, to really get after it. But offensively, you got to be a little careful. You know, I think it's important that where you get yourself ready to play is kind of you're thinking about it off the field and thinking about some of the things you want to do, and, you know, and a lot of times, you know, just close your eyes and visualize yourself doing it. And, you know, those things are like practicing on the field. You'd be surprised. The quicker you get things in your subconscious where you do things, the better you're going to be. I mean, that's like double practice if you really can, you know, we used to call it mental visualization or something like that, I guess we can, you know, but we used a lot of it and encouraged a lot of it. You know, just when you're sitting there studying or something, you would take a rest to sit and think about something you want to do or improve in. If it's just step with your foot, one with your left foot or your right foot or whatever it is. You know, but you've got to see it in the first person. You've got to really visualize what it, you know, you got to visualize the crowd. You got to visualize the person. And a lot of times you know the number of the guy you're playing against, and those are important.
Coach, real quick, about a minute and a half, Charlie McBride with us. Interested to get your take on this team between the years. Do you worry about this team mentally moving forward, just because of how tight the schedule is and what needs to happen for postseason?
Well, I think one of the things is both sides of the ball. I think if their one thing is that they're going to do their job, and the offense is going to, you know, move the ball for the defense and not be 3 and out and these kind of things like that, and make mistakes and do things to put the defense on the field and wear them out. Because when you have a passing team, you better have some rest. I mean, you better have some guys alternating, and you're going to have some things going there. You know, so it's important that, you know, that you just have to be careful what you're doing. But I think the players themselves, you know, you're responsible for each other, and that's a big thing. I think the defense, they gotta talk 3 and out all the time, and you know, and get the ball for them. We want to get more plays than they run, not vice versa. And you know, those are things that, you know, that I think are important just in your. You know, as coaches are coaching them, that they all talk about what they have to do for the other people, and you know, and the responsibilities that they have.
Charlie McBride with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Excuse me, Coach. We'll talk to you next Monday as we get ready for Ohio State in a week. Thanks for spending a Monday with us.
Okay, glad to do it. Talk to you next week, and go Huskers.
All right, Coach. Take care.
Okay. Bye now.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time. Good stuff from Charlie McBride. That'll be posted, the ESPN Lincoln on demand, ESPNLincoln.com. Also, 2-minute drill on the ESPN Lincoln Twitter handle. Good stuff from Jay Moore and his roommate, Bengals coach Zach Taylor, in hour 1. We welcome in the good doctor with HailVarsity.com and magazine. Got to read his Monday columns. Derek Peterson with us. Dr. Petey at Dr. Petey HV's on Twitter where you find him. Derek, what's the good word? How's the Windy City, brother?
Hey, man. It is windy and it's cold, but it's flannel and hoodie weather, so I can't complain unless it's a Sunday and I have to watch the Bears.
Yeah, that was no good. I felt bad for Fields. I mean, it was just turnover city, man, with picks and fumbles and picks. And you are in the Michael Jordan capital of the world. Your reaction to some game-worn sneakers, Air Jordans from '85, selling for $1.472 million. Shatters the record of the most expensive game-worn footwear. It was just over $600K. If you would have won the Nebraska lottery, would you have went in on this?
Oh, yeah. But it doesn't surprise me because that's like sneaker game has been commodified so much. But yeah, I mean, to have a piece of history like that, particularly an '85 pair. Oh yeah, absolutely. It'd be if you had that kind of disposable income, which I'm assuming the person that bought it had this kind of disposable income. Like, why not, right? Like, second greatest player of all time.
Hold on. You just threw a hand grenade at me. He said second.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what their reaction would be.
Yeah,
make them 1A and 1B.
There's been. I'm just slamming the air brakes right now. Right now.
Hey, no disagreement here. You're just arguing with the old man in the room, Derek.
The old man in my kid's basement. Yeah, that sounds really healthy. Let's talk some football here. Another day. We will fight this battle another day during summer with second or first greatest player ever. So, Derek, really awesome column. I want to get your thoughts on how you've kind of ballparked Nebraska this season. And, you know, progress has been there. And, you know, Nebraska's gone. And we were kind of talking mile markers, right, from Illinois to the Oklahoma game, from Oklahoma to Michigan, and then Purdue's in front of us, and then you're going to have Ohio State to start in November, so you'll have a month between what you did against Michigan, what you almost did against Michigan, and Ohio State coming to town. And, you know, how have you been able to size up progress versus results, versus the wins, the losses and the way they've lost, and who Nebraska's lost to has been frustrating in a sense, as they were favorites in some of these games that may come back to bite them. On the other hand, you know, not a lot of folks gave Nebraska a chance in Norman, or even the way Michigan State's unfolded, and then to bounce back like they did against Michigan State. How interesting has this been for you to kind of parse through and put a label on, is this a good team? Is this a misguided team? How have you been able to sift through what we're trying to define this 2021 team as?
Yeah, I think through the first month of the season, first four or five games of the season, you looked at a team and were like, hey, you know, these guys are getting better. The first loss against Illinois, that was the inexcusable loss. I didn't subscribe to the notion that losing to Minnesota, when they're coming off a bye week and you're a week before a bye week after, you know, playing 7 straight weeks coming into that game, I didn't think that was an inexcusable loss. If you look at Bill Conley's S&P Plus rankings, and I put a lot of weight into what Bill Conley's model says and what Bill Conley says, that spread on a neutral field would be 0.1 points. It's as close to a toss-up as you could get, and so you know, as I've thought about Nebraska over the course of this season, I don't see, since the Illinois game, I haven't seen a ton of inexcusable losses or a ton of you know, there's no Illinois 2020, there's no Purdue 2018 games. You know, I didn't go there with it. I didn't feel that way with the Minnesota game a week ago or whenever that was. You know, you get through Oklahoma, and I'm thinking you know what? like it's the same thing that keeps plaguing this team. The offensive line can't protect Adrian. Let's have a bigger discussion about what's going on here and what needs to be changed to fix what's going on here. And then you get to Michigan State and everything happens in East Lansing that happens. And then you get the Northwestern game. I think the sequence with just completely pounding Northwestern, the way the game started in particular, Nebraska got a ton of confidence right off the jump, and then you could just feel them grow into that moment. And it kind of reinforced some of the things Frost has been talking about. Now, again, it was a bad Northwestern team, but then you go into the Michigan game, and I think Michigan's a good team, and Nebraska holds its own with Michigan, and they're right there. And I wrote after that game, I wrote in my column, I was like, you know what? I think the hardest part of this right now is the fact that the answer that you're looking for at the head coaching position is on the sideline right now for Nebraska. And so the hardest part is just you're just gonna have to wait for some of these really, really painful losses to start flipping the other way, and you just don't know how much longer you're gonna have to wait. But if good things come to those who wait, right? That's the thing that our parents told us all the time when we were kids. And then you get the Minnesota game, and it makes it even more painful, and people are starting to question, okay, well, was everything else a fluke? I think there's an underplaying of Minnesota's team this season. And I get that they lost to Bowling Green, but I don't think they're a terrible team to the point where losing to them suddenly, undoes all of the progress that Nebraska had made over the weeks leading up to the game. Now, the big question with this team is because they've been so wishy-washy in Frost's tenure is what do the last 4 games look like? Purdue is one conversation. Ohio State is really the big one, which you kind of talked about when you were talking about levels of the season. Ohio State is the big one. You haven't been competitive with those guys except for one game in 2018 when you caught a bad Ohio State defense. Yeah. So if Nebraska is competitive, and not just competitive, but this team wants to fight. This team clearly cares about the guy that's coaching them. I think that'll say a lot. I think they're capable of it because I still think that this is a good football team. I think it's got a good defense and a good quarterback. The problem all season has been a below average offensive line. But if Nebraska is competitive against Ohio State, then that's something that they haven't been for the last 3 years, and so that's a sign in and of itself of progress. And so I think the thing that I wrote in my column was at this point in the season, I think if you're evaluating based off of wins and losses, as crappy as it is to say in a year 4, you kind of just have to throw that out the window at this point and say well, what does the team look like in the last 4 games? Because that'll tell you where this thing is trending.
Derek Peterson's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Derek, the progress of this Husker football team has been undeniable, at least from the eye test. There's no Gallup poll out there, but with my finger on the pulse of Husker Nation, it feels like the approval rating for Scott Frost has been going up as the year goes on. The question that's been dividing Husker fans has been the play of Adrian Martinez. There's a strong camp of people that say he's the best chance Nebraska has to win, and there's another camp who makes the argument that whenever the light shine brightest, whenever he needs to make a play, he hasn't been able to step up. And both of those arguments can be true, but I want to get your take on where you stand in the argument of Adrian Martinez's play this season.
Well, I think they're both true. I think both camps have a lot of facts to back up what they're saying because, I did the piece earlier in the year where I looked at Nebraska's possessions with the game on the line virtually in the last 3 minutes of the game, and I think at this point in the season they've had close to 20 possessions in the Frost tenure, with a chance to score, to tie, or take the lead in the last 4 minutes of the game. I think they've had close to 20 possessions and only scored on one of them, and that was Noah Vedral leading that late field goal against Northwestern a couple of years ago. So, you look at what has happened, and there are different reasons Nebraska has blown those opportunities, but Adrian Martinez has kind of been at the controls for those opportunities, and he hasn't gotten it done. And I think that's sort of the piece with Adrian is you're in games because of Adrian Martinez, and he hasn't been able to make that kind of career-defining play at the end of a game. He keeps kind of coming up short in those moments, and so you're like, well, what do we have here? Like, what is this? I think if Nebraska had a better offensive line, and that's kind of the thing that I keep coming back to, I think it would look a little bit better. But I do think that Adrian gives them the best chance to win, obviously. Statistically, when you look at some of the advanced stuff, he is up there with the top quarterbacks in the country in terms of what he's done this season. And, you put them on tape and you start looking at it and you say, well, like, Adrian is making plays when no one else around him is doing anything for him. And there are stretches of the game where he keeps them around just because of his singular talent. So it's this is what makes this so hard. This conversation so hard is like, players are playing well and, in Adrian's case, improving, because you wanted to see the turnovers come down, which they have. But they're still not getting the result at the end. So, like, is that because Adrian fumbles, as forward progress is about to be stopped, and there's like a second between, the play being dead and him fumbling the ball, and then the game is over? What causes that? And so, like, with the quarterback discussion, I think that's, like I said, both sides kind of, and got facts to back up what they're saying. But I still think Adrian's a good quarterback. I think he's been underappreciated in his time here. But you can't sugarcoat and say that he has been perfect.
Derek Peterson's with us from HailVarsity.com and magazine, at Dr. PDHV on Twitter. The Varsity Club podcast, catch that every week, drops Fridays, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, the Hurrdat Media platform. Doctor, we'll check in with you here in the near future. And good stuff, man. Appreciate what you do work-wise, and, of course, always taking time for us, man.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you again. Thanks.
All right, there he is, the good doctor, Dr. Petey. Some thoughts from the mayor. Hoiberg and Husker hoops on the horizon next.
He's in his 30s, but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmidt on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, preteen Swedish boy.
Good stuff from Derek Peterson, Dr. Petey from Hail Varsity. We'll get that full interview posted as we talk about Adrian wins and progress and trying to carve out the progress in relationship to the win total, and can log on HailVarsity.com and be sure to check out Derek's Monday columns in the Varsity Club podcast. We've got a couple emails. Greg and Kent, we'll get some thoughts from them in a moment. When it comes to Adrian here, a lot of time at the podium today for Adrian. Let's hear cut 9, Elijah, here on Adrian himself talking about, what percentage was he, and we knew it wasn't close to 100%.
I definitely wasn't 100%, but you rarely are in football, right? So there's no excuse to not play at the level that I'm accustomed to playing and want to play at. I did feel like I wasn't as dynamic as a runner going into that game, but still was able to do the things I wanted to do. If I felt like I couldn't, I wouldn't have played. So there's no excuse there. And additionally, the bye week was very helpful, I think, for everyone, not only physically but mentally. Maybe take a little bit of a break and get ready for this last 4 weeks.
So got an email from Kent when we're talking about Adrian here. And Kent's a big-time Nebraska fan. He emails quite a bit to the show, and his thought is this: look, the whole can't protect Adrian excuse-making is a closed narrative. It's got to stop. Wells just got popped, and he's talking about Colorado's O-line coach. In Kent's estimation, and you can email Chris at HailVarsity.com, he thinks Adrian's a panicker in close games or versus good teams. So Kent's like, look, Nebraska could be up 21-0 on Michigan. They come back, and there'd be something that went sideways that would allow the opponent to narrow the gap. Kent does concede that the O-line's not outstanding, but it's not terrible. It's average. It's become the scapegoat, though, is in Kent's eyes. Adrian scrambles regardless, blocked well or poorly, not like kind of like what Tommy Armstrong did. And the thing that's tough here is there's not a better option behind Adrian. There are some folks who think going to the portal's the answer. That's a Hail Mary, mainly because of the poor development and lack of foresight or vision. You have Adrian back. Maybe you're 5-7 or 7-5. Maybe that's the question, Elijah, isn't it? And we'll get to Adrian in 1 second here on his future. We can talk about 2021, and I'm interested to see how the four close. I'm interested to see your response as Nebraska on Saturday. You know, how pound for pound do you go with Ohio State? What do you look like in a game this Saturday and next? And then can you muster up and figure out a way to get to postseason? I think it'd be remarkable. I think it'd be energetic. I think it'd be that proof of progress finally in the win column versus what you just see with your own eyes. To your point, the eye test. You've seen the eye test of progress, but you've not seen the let's hold on to it. It's a win. It's not 1-4 in Big Ten play. It's not last in the West. But it's been a while since you've seen on-field competitiveness. And while that isn't wins, it's better than the alternative. But in year 4, you're hoping for a larger jump, more progress with this team, with this setup. But the bigger picture is, all right, if they barely miss a bowl game now with a bunch of super seniors and a good defense, what do you look like next year? And is it going to be any better next year with the same quarterback, the same system, the same assistants, the same scheme? And that's a big picture discussion topic.
Well, I think the question for Husker fans out there is, especially regarding Adrian, is going to the portal is not some magic wand that's going to fix your quarterback problems. Think about the people that are going to be going into the portal. That's guys that are not getting the playtime they think they deserve elsewhere. There's a reason they're not getting playtime. I mean, one of the bigger names in the transfer portal at the quarterback position this offseason is looking like it's going to be Spencer Rattler. It's still up in the air. Is he
going to change, or will he change your team, right? Is he going to be the same selfish puke that his teammates want to code red, or is he a guy that's going to actually grow up and realize I've got to go re-win a spot somewhere? You just never know.
And this is the thing with Adrian, is you know what you have in Adrian Martinez. You have a guy who is, when he has help around him, he tends to make the correct plays. He tightens up in tough spots, yes, but he's a good teammate. He's a good leader. And I think Husker Nation, I don't want to say he's crazy for thinking that another quarterback could come in here and do better, because there are a whole bunch of quarterbacks that could probably come in here and do just as well or better than Adrian. But the question is who is going to be available this offseason? That's what you have to ask yourself. And there's
can you upgrade?
Can you upgrade? That's the question here, and the answer most likely no. There's not many Joe Burrows in the transfer portal. That's why the Joe Burrow story was so remarkable.
Let's hear from Adrian here when it comes to this team's urgency and what they want to do to close out.
You need to always have a sense of urgency, and we haven't lost that. We've had that at the beginning of the year, and we have it right now. There's a sense of patience when it comes to where this program is and where we know we can be, where we want to be, and having confidence in that. The urgency can't stop, and it won't stop. We obviously need this win, and it's a huge game for us.
Last thought from Adrian when it comes to his timeline for a decision to return. I can see it going either way. If he wants to go shopping and grad transfer, totally get it. Totally get it. If he comes back for a 400th season, man, is it going to be better? Is it going to be cleaner? Is it going to be crisper? Is it going to be more clutch? And a lot of that has to do with some help around him. I agree with Kent. The O-line does get scapegoated. And it's a two-way street, Elijah. You know this from blocking for as many years as you did. There's situations where the quarterback gets yippy because he thinks he's going to get murdered. And then there's times where he holds on to it because he thinks he's got a clean pocket and he gets smoked and there's a fumble, right? I'm interested to to figure out that happy medium where, all right, you saw time in the second half and the second quarter against Oklahoma where Adrian had time to step and throw, and you saw a good ball game. You saw time against Michigan State. Last thought here from Adrian.
Oh, 100%. That's after the season. There are too many things that are way more important than that right now.
So it's going to be a while. That's Adrian saying, look, it's not time right now to make a decision on my future. There's Purdue, there's Ohio State, there's whiskey, there's Iowa. Do you think, what's your sense here, Elijah? I look at Adrian, and I think if he can kind of go out the right way, that might help bring him back. But if he's given everything, every ounce of his soul, which I believe he has, and it still isn't good enough, maybe it is time for a change of scenery for his own benefit.
Well, I was talking to the producer of his podcast trying to get a read on what Adrian was going to do this offseason. I got nothing. I was trying to get the inside scoop, and I came up empty-handed, so that's all I got.
You're all right. We'll hear from the mayor. More Husker basketball thoughts as they get ready for the upcoming exhibition game coming up midweek.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time on a Monday with Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. And Greg from Michigan chimes in. Welcome back. Thank you, Greg. Can't get myself to believe Big Red is going to be any different these last 4 games than what we've seen the last 4 years. Then more Monday excuses. Wish I could. GBR. Greg, someday it'll break right for you, brother.
And you want some Kool-Aid to drink? Nebraska over the past 3 seasons under Frost has seemingly gotten better in the past 4 games of the season. They've looked bad at times. I mean, think back to Scott Frost's first year when they started out winless to start the year, and then by the end of the year they started putting together some wins. The Scott Frost teams tend to get better as the year goes on, at least during his time at Nebraska. So if you want some Kool-Aid to drink, there you go.
Kevin emails in, Adrian O-line, special teams, play calling, all contribute to Nebraska not making it happen in the red zone. We score in red zone consistently early in games. It eliminates end of game blame on Adrian. Go Adrian. Kevin from our streaming down in Texas, ESPNLincoln.com. Well, we'll dive more into Purdue with Mitch Sherman tomorrow. We'll get Mitch's take on some Husker hoops as well. Excited to run down Rick Pizzo, Big Ten buffet time. He was on the sidelines. Is whiskey 100 proof all of a sudden? And what's he make of Purdue and Nebraska? And then a Tuesday with Kaz, Rick Kaczynski going to be with us, and excited. We will get all your Halloween candy, spooky stories, and the trip to Kentucky with a cowbell. Mike Leach with us midweek. That'll be a lot of fun. Let's talk expectations. It's been ongoing. This is the mayor, Coach Hoiberg, and what he is hoping for his squad. A lot of talent. You've got a lot of dudes on that roster. You got to find your rotation. You've got to hammer home role acceptance, which has been a problem with some previous teams and playmakers. You've got a great list of dudes and ball players and ingredients for Nebraska basketball. Let's make sure it tastes all right in this 2021-2022 season. More from Coach Hoiberg.
This year is important. Going into year 3, I know that we have expectations, which you want. You want expectations in this business. We're hopefully we talk to our guys every day about it. And, going out there and doing the right things, playing the right way, and hopefully putting ourselves in a position to do something that's never been done here with Nebraska basketball. So, you want those expectations. You want that pressure. That's what this job's all about.
Pressure and expectations. And I think you got a little gray area yet, Elijah, with this team. Now, how long are you going to have this access to talent? You're going to keep recruiting. You're going to keep trying to bring in dudes, but You've got some guys that have been part of the program. You've got some new faces. You've got the unveiling of McGowan's here, the first 5-star. And does that translate to competitiveness in a monster league? I think it can. But, are you in the same special hell that football's in, where you're close but not quite for basketball because of your squad? Good stuff today, Elijah. Thank you much. Back at you tomorrow at 4 with Hail Varsity. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.